Okay, we are up and running. Hello, everybody. My name is Ariane Camille. Thank you all for joining me for the emotional exchange. Now, I'm going to reel us in just like I would any other day or time. So, for the last few months, we have witnessed substantial amounts of protests and emotions, spewing and frustration for the continuous incidents of police brutality and cultural racism. We have each individually felt the fear, disgust, and mistrust of our current political system. It is no secret that Black people and other persons of color are fed up with being othered in their own homes. Okay. So, my emotions around this topic are very fluid and they're real, which is even more reason why this exchange is absolutely necessary. We are here today to discuss self care within activism. We will highlight the relationship between showing up for the community and showing up for yourself. So, we are honored to be joined by a very well diverse group who are all expertise in their crafts. So I'm going to allow you all to introduce yourselves. So if everyone can go around, introduce yourself, and probably name an organization that you're really proud to be a part of. So anybody can start. Y'all go.
Ladies, ladies.
Who's gonna go? Come on, y'all. Who's gonna really?
Ladies first.
Michelle?
Go ahead, right?
Okay, go, please.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Goodloe. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a therapist in Atlanta, Georgia. I own the space G. Michelle Self Care Resources, so you know I'm all about today's topic. An organization I am so proud to be connected with is actually Therapy for Black Girls, which is a wonderful directory created specifically for Black and African American women to be connected to therapy resources. So I'm excited to get this conversation started.
Thank you.
I guess I'll go unmute myself. But my name is Rachel Ponder. I am a personal trainer. I started a movement with a group of trainers called Exercise for Equality. I'm really proud of that. We help people get out in the community, stay active, and we donate the funds to Black-owned businesses here in Atlanta. I also work with a group called Everybody Eats, where we go out and distribute food to the community. So the food is grown at a farm here in Atlanta, and we distribute it and talk to the community. And yeah, so I like to call myself the community connector, and it's about connecting everybody to one another and causes to causes.
Big bro. All right, I'll go ahead. My name is Shivy Brooks. I am a high school educator here in Atlanta. I teach at Charles R. Drew High School in Clayton County. I guess the organization I'm most proud of, man, I'll just speak to the family that we have in the Atlanta street. Shout out to the Change Creators. Shout out to my brother Scotty and Parlay and Desi and Ree and just, Attorney Griggs, our whole fam that rides with us here in Atlanta. I'm most proud to just be a part of young Black folks, willing to be vocal and be present.
I go by the name of Scotty Smart. I am the owner of the Smart Foundation, which stands for Some Men Are Really Trying. It's a nonprofit organization based on empowering and uplifting our community through education, branding intelligence back into our culture, just making it acceptable to be intelligent again and embracing our culture in that way. As far as the activism goes, we formed our team of super friends that we call the Change Creators, which brings together attorneys, activists, rappers, everyone you can think of is a little bit under our umbrella, and we're also in the process of getting off the ground our program, Take Back the Streets ATL.
Yes, nice. So as you can see, these individuals who are here are experts in their field, and they are actually in the communities pouring back into brown and Black people. So I created Emotional Exchange to build community, to create a place for us to have these safe conversations and recognize that we aren't alone in our emotional experiences. So I'm going to create this space, even though it's virtual, we're here with each other. So I'm going to ask you all to say someone else's name. And if you agree that this is a safe space, just say someone else's name here in our little bubble and say this is a safe space. Michelle,
Scotty, this is a safe space.
Safe space.
Shivy, this is a safe space.
Thank you, Scotty.
This part. Okay, so one thing, if you are agreeing to listen with intent and be empathetic, I want you to say someone else's name again and say, I got you. So, Scotty, I got you.
Michelle, I got you.
Rachel, I got you.
Shivy, I got you.
Rachel, I got you.
Awesome. Okay, so now that we've set the tone and we have each other's backs, we're here to talk activism, right? So anyone can answer this. What does activism mean to you all?
Activism is being involved. It's different layers of activism. It's just being active in your community, trying to uplift your community in whatever lane that you feel comfortable or whatever suits you best. It's not necessarily just protesting. That is a form of activism, but you also have those people who can send in emails, make those phone calls. Everyone doesn't have to be a frontline activist as far as at the front line of the protest, but at this moment in history, I think everyone should be asking how can they be involved, how can they get active and bettering our community right now.
Nice. Anyone else want to add? No, not really.
I agree with Scotty. I think what's most important, the biggest takeaway is that activism is not a monolith. It is not one thing. It is not just having being on the front lines or walking around with a picket sign or something like that. Activism can come in the form of being an educator and standing up for what is right. Activism can come in the form of being at the dinner table with your family and speaking up against internalized nonsense that we might hear, right? So it can come in a myriad of different forms. And I think we have to, by being very clear about that, actually, I believe validates the movements and the input and the investments that some folks put into the game that may not look like being out there in the street. And they're valid too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Michelle?
I think for a lot of Black folks, a lot of us, we are naturally activists. We have to stand up for something or somebody, and we've had to do it a long time since we were kids, and we'll definitely talk about this a little bit later, but there's something really unique about the circumstances we are in right now. Because again, our people, generations before us have been trying our best to get our rights and having some equality. But there's this new lens now where non-Black folks, white folks are now exposed to what we've been dealing with for a very long time. So we have naturally been activists for a long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Activism, the textbook definition, is the use of direct action to achieve an end goal. So either for or against an issue. And like Scotty and Shivy, we've all mentioned that millions of people have been taking action towards social injustice through emails and calls and rallies and protests and so much more. But I'm so glad that you all already pointed out that activism looks so colorful. And I wanted to give a special shout out to all of the working professionals around the world who have to enter spaces every day that in environments where they may not feel heard or seen or feel their true authentic self all the time. Like, you too are activists within those spaces. So I just wanted to, give a little shout out to all my 9-to-5 workers who may not be able to, wear their do-rags or their head wraps or feel comfortable brushing their hair in the middle of, the workspace. So yeah.
But they should though.
Yeah.
And I think the days of just kind of okaying and placating and co-signing code switching are over with. Like, we got to stop like really making allowances for that type of behavior within our community and our culture, because so long as we continue to acquiesce to white dominant culture, we are internalizing racism, and we are helping to support the existence and the sustainability of white supremacy. We got to stop it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you remember my old Instagram name was actually Rachel's Curly Fit a while back, and it was when I was, doing the big hair and the big curls, and I did it because I remember I used to work for a few law offices here, and someone told me, just make sure your hair is, presentable, and I thought, well, what does that mean? So I came in with my curls, big old fro, and you're either gonna hire me or you're not, because I'm either qualified or I'm not, and if that's not the place for me, then it's not the place for me. So yeah, that's what I had to say. I'm going.
Exactly.
And that's funny because they just started something on July the 3rd. It's actually called Crown Day. Have you heard of Crown Day?
Yeah.
Where they just passed a law last year in California where you're allowed to wear your natural hair and not be discriminated against. It's not even in every state just yet, but that's something we're still working towards in our discrimination.
This
Yeah.
goes right back
How is it you can legalize how God made you is some foolishness, man. Like, come on.
Us living our natural, authentic selves is activism.
Mm-hmm.
It is fighting against white supremacy.
Exactly.
I mean, this is 2020, and that act is not even in every state. That I can't rock my this is mine, rock it. Come on, like we are constantly exposed to this. We call that emotional labor. When you have to explain, when you have to engage, when you have to have activism against your authentic self, because just as Shivy talked about, white supremacy runs deep. Mm-hmm. The systemic oppression that we are all impacted by, it runs so deep. We are constantly still working to just be our authentic selves and that be legal.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to, just spread a special light to those groups of people, because I've been there, like Rachel said, she's been there in the past, and not everyone has or even wants to be entrepreneurs where they're making their own rules and everything like that. And that's okay. But that's why we're having this conversation, because there's still like an emotional wellness piece that goes into combating that systemic racism. So yeah, I mean, political meetings are still forming. I've been seeing you guys join them where there are like specific goals. There are intentional political gatherings that have goals to them, and the marches are keeping continuous traction. So for you all, to my activists, what are some physical and legal safety tips that are most helpful for protests right now? Safety tips.
Say it one more time. I'm sorry, I was trying to handle it. Say it one more time.
No, you're fine. I said, what
Scotty, you there? All right, so we lost her. What she said was, what kind of tips would we give to people, about the legalities and safety of activism? What advice would we give them so that they're safer when they go out?
Well, I would say if you can go with a buddy, like usually I already know somebody's gonna be there, so I don't really have to worry about that. But if you're not used to it, make sure you have someone there with you, because I don't know if you guys know, in Portland, they're kidnapping people. You have federal agents who are in vans and kidnapping people at these protests that are going on. It's like anarchy there. So have a buddy system, have water, have a cloth for you just in case it does get violent and tear gas is thrown. I've talked to a few tactical trainers. stay on the edges if you can, just in case someone is running through the protest with a car. Like, there are just different things that you just need to be consciously aware of. Always watching your surroundings, because you don't know who's out there with you. So it's just about, for me, being careful, mindful. Yeah.
Scotty, you was about to say something, right?
I just think it's same thing, Rachel. It's just about being aware of what's going on and understanding what you're feeling in those moments. When you get those senses and those urgencies to maybe fall back a little bit, and every moment, you don't have to be the aggressor. You know what I mean? You can feel it. Like the night CNN building happened. I was there. I left maybe like 30 minutes before it got to that point. You know what I mean? It was like, all right, now I ain't got nothing to do with this. This is going a little bit too far. Like, that ain't got nothing to do with the protest, and that's an angry crowd that's uprising at the moment. And so you get those senses, and also being educated on what the laws are of what you can do. You know, when you do encounter the police officers that are there, and they're aggressive, you need to be able to train or do some type of training to be able to speak fluently on if they're violating you personally. And so to protect yourself in that way is very key to me. And that's why we're trying to do some training with understanding the Fourth, Fifth, Sixth Amendments, and just amendments and laws that we encounter on a day-to-day basis that we may necessarily be able to use in the moment, and train on those where, like, if you have an encounter with they're trying to search you, and you know that you haven't done anything reasonable cause or anything like that, you can tell them that they're violating your Fourth Amendment right. And so it's having an educational piece behind it so that you can be comfortable in your space to be able to encounter police officers or anti-protesters as well, before allowing anyone to be in violation of their person.
Yeah, I would say for me, man, it's, again, to echo what Scotty is saying about knowing your rights. But, the truth of the matter is that we really got to be in position to protect ourselves. Like, there's no reason that, if you're able to have a carry concealed permit, that you don't have one. If you're legally able to carry a firearm, that you do. Like, the truth is that we don't need to be just sitting ducks out here anymore. Like, if we already know, if our crew is out there, it's at least like 10 of us at a time. And we know everybody that's out there on top of that. But we got like our core group. And we all know that we all down for whatever if something were to go down. And that's the kind of energy that you got to have. Like, I think sometimes people get it twisted. Like, yeah, we're peaceful, but that doesn't mean we ain't got a peace. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever it is what it's going to be if it has to. But we not out here just to be victim to folks or their bigotry or the violence that they want to impose against us. It will always be met with resistance.
Definitely always going to be able to defend yourself. We don't got to start it, but hey, if you go there,
it get done.
Be like that sometimes.
Was Rachel able to share as well?
She did.
Yes. Okay.
Look, we co-moderated for you.
Y'all are the best. I'm telling you, y'all are bomb. We're gonna talk about that after, but we're here. God is good. So, okay. I'm glad you guys were able to still coast through my absence. I wanted to go ahead and pass over the torch to Michelle. So this is a great time anyways, to just, carry us through our physical being while we are out there is so important. And we talk about protocols, and I know, like Scotty, Rachel, Shivy, you guys were talking about, I know, everybody who's out there. So there's conversations that need to be had beforehand. So those conversations or conversations about our emotional wellness are just as important, and making sure that you are checking in with your fellow protesters, or how are they emotionally being able to carry through the end goal. So, Michelle, if you want to share some self-care tips with the group, feel free.
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you to all three of y'all and for the leadership that you have in taking on this movement and in sharing these tips. I know that this is incredibly helpful to a lot of folks who are watching. I just wanted to say thank you for holding space for us. I think there's a lot of different ways you can practice self-care in this particular form of activism. And the first thing is to give your body a break. No matter what type of activism you're engaging in, if it's you're on the front lines, you've got your signs, you're using your voice, if you're at home, you're exposed to, all of the different things that are going on, it's so important to give your body a break and allow your body to rest. I love the work of the NAP ministry. If anybody's familiar with them, I would look them up. They are incredible. But they talk a lot about how rest is resistance, and again, looking at how we've been dealing with activism historically, we were not given permission to rest, So if you're ever feeling guilty about taking some time to rest, to put your feet up, to rest your voice, to take some time off, to actually try to relax. I emphasize on try because it's hard to relax with everything going on. You want to do your best to give your body some rest, treat any injuries that you're having, any inflammation that you're having, rest your feet, rest your voice. They are powerful. They are getting us through. If you need to stretch, make sure you're refueling with water, staying hydrated, eating things that you need to eat, those really, really basic needs. That's the first thing I want to share in terms of that self-care. It's also okay to notice if you're having a lot of different feelings that are heavy and that are complex. Y'all, we are dealing with something that's so abnormal. That's how I really like to describe trauma. A lot of times trauma is your body, your mind, your spirit trying its absolute best to cope with something that's incredibly abnormal. And I don't know about y'all, but 2020 has been very abnormal to me personally. And I know it's been abnormal to a lot of us. We are being exposed to so many different things, right? And again, just like we talked about at the beginning, a lot of Black folks, this isn't new to us, what's been happening to us. But we had a lot more coping skills before 2020 started, right? I mean, culturally, we like to gather. We like to come together. We like to spend time with each other, cookouts, barbecues, celebration. That's much more difficult to do with the circumstances of having to stay at home, again, for our safety. But again, that's abnormal, right? We're used to having those pieces for our self-care. So now we're being put in a position to be exposed to and experience these different types of racism and systemic oppression without all of our tools that we need to cope with this. So this is a heightened time for us to really try our best to be intentional in taking care of ourselves. You may notice your feelings are complex, that they're coming and going in waves, that it may be hard to really hold on to some joy, that you may feel guilty for doing that, may feel some shame around that. Nope, there's joy. Joy is resistance. It's okay for us to feel those moments of joy, to feel those moments of rest. It's okay to get that. And it's okay if your feelings don't make a lot of sense right now. Your body, your mind, and your spirit are trying their absolute best to cope in a normal way to a situation that is so abnormal. I also want to stress that when you're trying to practice self-care as an activist, you want to de-stimulate. And when we talk about stimulation, that means everything is heightened. You're hyper aware. As our activists here have described, when you're out there, protesting, you have to be aware of your surroundings. Do you know that's engaging your body to be aware, that's getting the adrenaline pumping in a constant way, right? That's a lot on our bodies. That's a lot to take on. So as part of your self-care, do the opposite of that. As much as you can be, if you're safe in your homes, you're feeling safe, de-stimulate. Try to have low to limited activity. Listen to music quietly, put your feet up, turn the TV off, take breaks from social media. I know y'all have been hearing that one a lot. And I know a lot of my mental health colleagues have been talking to folks about that so much. But if you can just take an intentional 30 minutes away from social media just for a while to de-stimulate your body, to come down from the high that is the hypervigilance, right? Hyper alertness that we have to protect ourselves. This is so essential. And I know I'm being repetitive, but only because it's important. You want to try and bring your body down because you're trying your best to cope with something that's abnormal. Your body is doing the best that it can. So find those activities, right? Find that time to rest so that you can de-stimulate.
Yeah, before you move on, Michelle, I just wanted to reflect on the 3 tips that you've given so far. The last one, destimulate. I think that's so important that you kind of pointed out the fact that when you are out there in alert, your body is tense, right? Because you're constantly making sure, Shivy had talked about making sure that like my family's good. Like, where's Scotty? Where's Rachel? They're here. And I've been out there. I know how it feels to not have your eye on somebody for a second and you're kind of like worried in this big crowd. But to, compress all of those things, decompress all of that by coming home and making sure like you take that shower or you do listen to that softer R&B that will, like don't come home after a protest and you still banging all the hard music. You know what I'm saying? Like we still out here like this. No, you got
that's Scotty's self-care routine. What you talking
about? You got to kind of decompress, and I like that one.
That's not true. I'll tell y'all mine is.
Can I add to that? It makes me feel like yeah, Scotty. What I was saying, I want to add to that. Like,
Michelle, you saying something?
Yeah. A really helpful way to help kind of gradually decompress and get to that place of a little bit more calm. I love a mood playlist. So say you do have your hard-hitting songs that are going hard when you're out protesting, create your music playlist to start with those songs. So you're meeting yourself where you're at, then gradually create your playlist to come down to kind of a place of calm. So let that music kind of start, again, with the songs that get you hyped, that get you out there, then kind of add a little bit more, R&B, you need to throw in a little Marvin Gaye in there, a little Al Green, and come to a place of calm by the end of the playlist so that you're kind of gradually getting into it. It's sometimes hard to just switch it off. So I just wanted to add that piece.
To piggyback off of that, I have a few playlists that I listen to as well, to just in general, to get me to calm down from that energy, because it is a lot of aggression that's out there. It may not be from you, but you can feel it from everyone. You can feel it from some police officers. You feel it, and it's hard not to take it in. So I have my playlist, but I also have dedicated one day out of the week where I don't get on social media as much. I meet with healers, my friend who's a movement specialist. I remember the first time working with him, he said, "Rachel, oh my God, you're so tense. You won't even move." So, he's stretching me out, but it's so hard for him to stretch me out because my body is on go mode all the time, right? So I've been working with him, going to sister circles, just being around healers helps a lot. And so I do want to throw in an event that's coming up this weekend on Sunday. There's a healing event at Piedmont Park. Ari's going to be there speaking, but they're going to have yoga, they're going to have sound bowls, Reiki therapy, just different types of therapy to help not just protesters, but everybody just heal, because America has a problem with mental health, and it's not something we talk about, and we don't really talk about ways to deal with it besides just going to sit on someone's couch. So I want to throw that in there.
Thank you. Which is kind of going into my next question even. Michelle, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
I see there's a really good comment from Psychotherapy Research Lab. This person says, "Good points. I heard that you should meditate for 20 minutes a day. And if you're not too busy, meditate for an hour. I think meditation can be an incredible practice to have as part of your activism self-care. I love the app Liberate. If you haven't heard of it, feel free to download it. Again, it's called Liberate. And then there's specific guided meditations. If it's hard for you to just sit and kind of meditate on your own, I strongly recommend finding a guided meditation. This particular app was created for people of color, and there's very specific meditations on dealing with Black Lives Matter, microaggressions, finding some calm, getting some rest, that are created specifically for us. Again, this app is called Liberate. I'm not getting paid for this at all. I just want to share the resources that were created for us. So that can be another way to practice self-care, is guided meditation or meditation.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Thanks for the comment, Psychotherapy. What are you guys doing? Scotty, Shivy, what are y'all doing after all of these huge gatherings? What does your self-care look like?
Well, I have a cheat code for one. My dad's a therapist, and so I have an advantage that most people don't have. A lot of times, but it's usually before events, before I do speaking engagement. He plays devil's advocate a lot of the times and collects my thoughts before I go like on Fox News. We would go back and forth, and so I know that like now with everything going on, and he sees the platform growing. He calls me more than ever he's ever called me in my whole adult life. You know what I mean? But it's more so just checking in, just to have that conversation. So I think it's very key to have outlets, to have open conversation where you can just be unapologetically expressing yourself so that you can get whatever you have off your chest in any realm of the conversation. I don't know, what you guys indulge in, but I indulge in a little marijuana occasionally. Yeah, that protest. I'm one of those people that is very big on disconnecting from the movement at times, and I have a street background, so you might catch me in the hood right after. I might go from the protest to and I might be over there with a bottle of Hennessy and the bros, listen to some music, playing spades and smoking weed, and I'm totally disconnected to a whole different environment where my mind is not even knowing that I can just seek into a whole different world where I can just cut off. I know nobody over there is as involved, unfortunately, but it's not the same pressures or same questioning. Like now, it gets to a point where people see me out and they want to talk about that every time they see me, and I'm just like, it's a time and a place for that. And so I think it's key to really be able to disconnect from those moments and really just enjoy life. And a lot of times we get boxed in as activists as if we're on regular people. You know what I mean? And so that's why I'm as unapologetically about my lifestyle that I am. Like, I do like to have fun. You know what I mean? Like, you can go to the club one night, go have some drinks, and wake up and go protest. You know what I mean? Like, you can do all of that. And that's my whole thing, is to normalize you being a regular person. You don't have to be walking on eggshells, the division or whatever your religion is, and feel like you can't be a normal person, or that you are frowned upon for indulging in other activities that normal people do, because you're an activist. And I think a lot of times people put you on that pedestal, especially me, and I'm like, bro, I like to do regular stuff, bro. I just care about my community a lot more than most people do, which I would love for you to care about as much as I do. But at the same time, my favorite thing to do is play spades. They call me every day, get on these spades tonight. Like, that's my thing. I love to play spades, drink, smoke with the bros. That's one thing. But also, like I said, my cheat code is having my dad as a therapist and having those conversations with him that open my mind to a lot of different things, and having good mentors, Tony Griggs, Marcus Coleman, even Shivy's a big brother to me. So I have a good circle of communication. I think a lot of times people have to be able to express their thoughts, and a lot of times people keep a lot of stuff caged in, and so it's be able to let that out and let it go, or just speak on it. Like, I hear a lot of times people like, well, it's so much trauma on social media, and I'm like, yeah, at this point I've become accustomed to it. I've been active 6 years now since Mike Brown situation, and so at this point in time, nothing surprises me anymore, and I'm numb to it to a certain degree, which is it's desensitized. It's not healthy, but at the same time, I feel like we have to just step up and understand that mentally this is our normal, even though it may be abnormal. It has become the norm, and however we choose to embrace it or step away from it, it does affect everyone differently. So I'm more so hardened to the core because I've seen it so much. I've seen it happen, and I've never seen the magnitude of support like this. So I remember being an activist and nobody cared. You know what I mean? It was just me against. I used to have someone say, when you're trying to help the black community, the biggest enemy you may face is the black community, because they don't care either. You know what I mean? And so it's sometimes it was walking in that light of aloneness when I first started this 6 years ago, and now to the point where the platforms are big. My team is building day by day. We have a good understanding of each other's strengths and weaknesses. Everybody plays off of each other. It's a good balance in my circle. And so I think having those people who are like-minded, who are joined forces, like conversations like this, is key, because then you can build relationships. You can learn about different people, and you can put yourself around people who are doing that. You may come from a community where a lot of people aren't as engaged as you are, and you might feel like the loner in your own space. which I did at one time. But at the same time, I started getting active more and going to different spaces. And then that opened me up to other people that may want the same thing. I think a lot of times people want to force their mission or their passion on others. And I think as an activist, a form of self-care is understanding your audience and understanding when to have that conversation. Every conversation isn't for everybody. And if you're that activist that's trying to force a message on somebody that doesn't want to be talked to at that time, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And you're wondering, why don't they care like I care? You know what I mean? Or why aren't they feeling what? That's not your audience at that time. And so I think it's very key to understand when to have conversations. I think that's very key. A lot of times I let people ask me questions. I don't just go around. People think I walk around preaching all day. I'm like, bro, I don't care to even give you that much energy if it's not reciprocated. Like, no, it's not your passion. You ask me something, I will, but I'm not just walking around like just all day, every day, all in your face. I'm walking around regularly. You know, my shirts are always a form of protest in itself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I walked around. I was in Publix. All the black women was like, yes, 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 sir, yeah. You know what I'm saying? A lot of black women love me. But I think a lot of times
cold, bro.
Yeah,
man, I got them in every color. And I'm a brand ambassador for Black Women Are Dope.
Yeah, I know it. Look, you need to give me your
same person you met yesterday. Shivy Brooks.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Look, I got everything. I mean, Black Women Dope hoodies. I got it all. Everything Black Women Dope. You know what I mean? Between that and change characters, I'm a walking billboard. I only wear my brands at this point. But I think it's key to understand the timing in your audience. And every time you have to be able to understand when not to engage in conversation. There's a lot of conversations that are going on now because it's very trendy. And a lot of people aren't really active. They're not really looking for solutions. They're just talking about problems. And so I think it's a strength to be able to identify those conversations that you shouldn't have.
Yeah. What you're talking about, Scotty, is emotional intelligence. Really, you're talking about the ability to read the room and read other people. So, you know, you're practicing.
Right.
Yeah, it's a skill that, you know, people work on. And it's not something that you just know. It's definitely something that is learned. And that you've had to learn over the years, I'm sure.
Definitely.
I'm sure you didn't just come in here knowing those things. And you touched on great things.
No, I think I got that from.
You said you got that from who?
I think I got that from reading the community. Like when I first started, I'm a student at everything first. So I used to go into different rooms and just sit in the back of the room and just observe. And I understood the disconnect that was happening within our community. And a lot of times it's the people who have the information and how they talk and engage with people who they want to help. And at the same time, those people might not want that help at that moment. So it's just like it's just a battle. You know what I mean? You want to help the next generation of people, but they're not in that mindset of being helped just yet. And so you're forcing it on them, and then they're becoming defensive. So you have to allow people to get to that space where they are actually ready to receive that message. And so everyone has that moment differently. Like it's a lot of young activists going on right now. I'm like, ooh, I wasn't thinking about that at 21 years old. You know what I mean? Like I'm impressed by that. I'm like, I didn't get involved until I was 26, 27 years old. Like, and y'all at 19, 20, y'all want to do this? Like, I just want to go to the club every Saturday at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed with the younger generation and how active they are. But I'm just hoping that our generation can give them guidance and nurture them. And because I think a lot of times what I see with the older activists, they're not really ready to pass that torch just yet sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's key. And I think luckily I have a system of mentors that put me in the limelight. Like they've been forcing me to get more shine. Like, bro, just go. Like, and when a lot of times you have people who haven't reached their fullest potential, they still want the spotlight. And they're not ready to share that spotlight with others, and they're looking for the attention. So I think it's key that you be able to understand who people are and what their intentions are as far as what they're doing, and especially right now because activism has become trendy. And so I like to just sit back and just wait, patiently waiting for the wave to calm down just a little bit. You know what I mean? It used to be a 72-hour window where things used to go viral. And now we had a whole month. All of June was crazy. July's been slowing down a little bit, but it's revving back up. So I think you have to understand the people that are really doing the work in the community and not just protesting. It's community giving back. Like you said, the Everybody Eats. That's a great thing. I would love to be a part of that. I feed the homeless once a month. I do a lot with my foundation. We're about to do a back to school drive. And so it's about providing those opportunities for other people to be engaged with you and actually having fun with activism. Let's have parties. Let's have a good time where you don't have to be, rah or fight back, every moment of your life. That's not for everybody, but there's other people who want to engage with you. And so I think you have to normalize what we're doing. You know what I mean? Don't look at it as a pedestal, but make it to where it feels like other people can be involved as well.
Well, and we're doing transformative work just in general, right? So like when Scotty talks about feeding folks, like at the beginning of quarantine, like I told you, I'm a teacher. And one of the biggest issues that we have in my area is food insecurity. So helping students and families get access to food was like a major thing. So I had a partnership with Papa John's Pizza that started after Shaquille O'Neal bought in, and he owns like 9 of the stores here in Atlanta. He's also on the board. A lot of people don't know that, but Shaquille O'Neal basically runs Papa John's now. So when he came on and we partnered to start feeding kids in the community, Scotty came on and donated a very large sum of money to help us to do that. So like, us feeding the community turns into my son and I being the face of like Papa John's, things like that, where it's transformative. You go from the checker pass that company had with the a-hole owner that they had at the time to having a Black father who is as vocal as I am, being the person that you push out there. So like that, I think says a lot. And that turns into the making activism fun and to being, doing it a little bit different than people would see. When you see that, it's like, whoa, how did that happen? But it's the work that we're putting in, feeding the community and whatnot, that gets the attention of folks and they're paying attention. And then it turns into a whole different thing. So
exactly. And I was gonna say, I'm not letting you slide, Shivy. You need to share what you're doing to take care of yourself.
Oh man, you know what?
Yeah, I was about to ask him that too. What you doing?
Oh yeah, Scotty. See, we not letting you slide, Shivy. What you over there doing?
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. So mental health is big for me. I worked 5 years before I was a teacher, running a program called the Respect Institute for Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities here in Georgia. And I ran it for 5 years. And essentially what I did was coach individuals who have lived experience with mental illness on how to articulate their life stories and share them with legislators and, nursing students and practitioners, to really open their eyes to the community that they really serve. And in doing that work, I learned so much about myself, about the depression that I experienced, or the anxiety that I experienced, or moments of, being over rev or mania or what have you, that I didn't even realize I was going through. And so in this movement, man, like I remember having like high levels of anxiety after some of my students went out marching. They out there with, yo, Brooks, we out here. You know what I'm saying? You inspired. And I'm just like, and I had seen the marching going on probably for, maybe 2 or 3 days at that point. And I was just like, trying to stay in my little, I'm a teacher, I'm professional, I'm not going out there in the streets, like my time is past, I'm too old for that or whatever. And I had IBS, I had like the knots in the stomach, I had the restless sleep and everything, because I understood the importance of being present and how much it mattered, and how there's only so much talking about things that you could do, that if you're not actually willing to put some skin in the game, then you really lose your credibility. And so at that point, I knew once I got involved, it was going to be like 100%. It wasn't going to be like, okay, we're just going to show up for a day and just say we did it. We're not going to go there for the Instagram photo op or what have you. Like, no, this is going to be a real commitment. And in doing that, man, I really jumped in, and I had to take some moments to reflect on myself, to realize that I wasn't really tapping into my self-care the way that I should have. So when y'all, invited me to come into the conversation, I was like, man, I hope they're not gonna lean on me to share some skill sets and whatnot, because my toolkit is looking real raggedy right now. But I do recognize that I could be doing more. Now, some of the ways that I am aware of is, listen, meditation. I start my morning, I go out on my porch, got a little fountain sound that be in the background, and I do all my gratitude checklists. You know what I'm saying? I start every single day with gratitude. I started off with checking off all the people, individual people, specific situations, specific opportunities that I'm grateful for. And the other part is like being responsive to the people that I know like really love me, right? So like I ignore probably a lot of phone calls per day just because my phone rings off the hook. That's the other side of just being present in the movement, and also being present like on social media and whatnot. You're getting pulled by thousands of people a day. But if somebody like Scotty calls me, I'm answering the phone every time. If somebody like Reed called me, or Desi called me, or Parlay called me, or like just, our camp, like if they call me, I'm responding. And I think it's that staying connected with that nuclear group of people that like the relationship's not transactional. Ain't nobody trying to get nothing out of it. Ain't nobody looking for the come up or an opportunity. Like people genuinely care. Me and Scotty will talk on the phone about the day. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't gotta be about, what you doing for this and what opportunity you got for me to show up here. Nah, it's like, how you? You want to just go eat, whatever, or we go support, our bro who has an opportunity coming up. It ain't even about us. Yeah, hey, word up. You know what I'm saying? At the Beverly, Black-owned restaurant over here in East Atlanta that we like to go to. So, you know what I'm saying? And then that's the other part. Like even in our self-care, if we gonna go kick it at a bar or a restaurant or a club or something like that, we gonna kick it at Black-owned spots where we know the owners and the whole 9 yards. So, you know what I'm saying? We're even in our self-care, even in our kind of kicking it, we're still intentional about how we push our Black dollars. So the activism never dies in any moment with us. Like there's no end in sight to it. It's pervasive. It is.
Yeah, you guys have wonderful support systems, is what I hear from each of you, Rachel included, and it's definitely a huge blessing to be able to have fathers who have insight, or brothers, mentors who have insight, sisters, and healing professionals like in your back pocket, because this the act of your Blackness takes an emotional toll within the white supremacy and the cultural racism that is embedded into this country. And I think that once we start naming things like our emotional wellness being important, we'll be able to, like Scotty was saying, passing on the torch, and kind of as you, Shivy, being emotionally well, checking into your coping skills for these younger people are just as important as making sure that they are physically safe. Like, how are you actually doing out here? Is this making you nervous? Don't ignore the people who may be trembling on the front lines, or who do honestly look fearful, making sure that you are covering them emotionally as well is so important. Because we're in a very high, intense emotional state right now. Like even the anxiety that you felt, Shivy, for your students, that was that was the fear of their physical safety and their emotional safety. Although they were, like on the gram, like, yeah, we out here. And I'm pretty sure they were very prideful to be out there. But that underlying fear still is within all of us. So it's important to check in with ourselves and, the people around us.
I think that what I was trying to communicate though is that, Pac once said, he said, when a Black man turns about 30 years old, that fire that he has inside to go out there to be vocal, to be on the streets and whatnot, it starts to die down. They get comfortable. You get the job, you get the family, you get the wife, you get the kids, you get the cars, you get all of that. And now you got something to lose. So it's like you kind of tamp down. for me, that's really more so where it is. Like there is a privilege in kind of reaching your 30s as a Black person, especially a college educated Black person, especially a so-called middle class Black person. Like there are privileges that you have in your Black experience that many folks do not want to risk. They are afraid to give up. And it becomes the thing that makes them apprehensive or cautious about getting involved in the movement, because it could be economically inexpedient to get involved. It could be, it could cause professional peril for them to get involved, right? I'm a teacher, you know what I'm saying? I'm a state government employee. Like if somebody really wanted to have smoke with me for how vocal I am about things, they probably have channels to try to cause financial harm to me, if you will, or professional harm to me. So for me, that was really the anxiety that I was talking about, that I don't think gets addressed very often. And that is the how your middle class Black privilege gets challenged when you want to be vocal or be active in the movement, because it does come with risk.
Yeah. And that's why
I had to get comfortable in to risk that. And in a sense, let me also say that at the beginning of the movement and where we are today, my life, just even as far as all of that stuff, has completely changed. And so I think it has everything to do with remaining faithful and believing that God will always make a way, so that so long as you're proving to be a vessel for his work and for his glory, then on the other side of it, he's going to give you that reward of freedom, whether it be mentally, financially, spiritually. You will get the reward of freedom on the other side. And right now I'm in a place where I feel more free than I ever have, whether that be spiritually, mentally, vocally, just in my presence. Like they could take my job and I don't give a damn. It wouldn't matter to me. So at this point, it's 1,000 miles ahead for our people. And I see that it's exactly what I'm supposed to do. And I'm all right with that.
Which is commendable, because what you started off saying is that everyone doesn't have that confidence, you know? And that's also why I started this conversation highlighting the folks who are working professionals, you know, who do work 9 to 5s and things like that, because it's so important to recognize their fear, Chevy, that they may feel for their financial security. And it's like, I just wanted to shout them out. Like, I hear you, we see you, we know what that pressure looks like, we know what that fear looks like. And I don't ever want to be a therapist that helps Black people adapt to racism. You know what I mean? I don't want to help anybody provide them with coping skills on how to adjust to white supremacy. I want people to feel confident enough to resist the adaptation and navigate and learn how to navigate. And I think that's what this group of people here have had the confidence to be able to step out and do. We are no longer choosing to adapt. We are choosing to navigate with the pride of our Blackness all over us, all over.
100. No, I think that's key, and that's exactly what I was talking about, because we don't just only see those 9 to 5ers, those professionals. I am them, right? So it's not. But it is the truth. Right, like I return to teaching students on August 10th. You know, I start pre-planning next week. So that is me. But the truth is that we cannot allow our financial privilege and our professional privilege to be the thing that becomes a crutch, a hindrance, or a reason to hesitate to fight for our freedom.
Exactly.
Like what good is living in a middle class neighborhood if your Black children are not comfortable being their authentic selves when they go to your white neighbor's house?
Exactly. Rachel, you want to say something, boo?
Oh, gems are being dropped. So just that last gem, with the schooling system, I feel like I've always fought for the voiceless because I know 2 different worlds. So, you know, I've lived in a all white neighborhood, but I'm from Decatur. So my mom moving us from this place where I'm not getting the proper education that I need. My teachers telling her like she's not going to thrive here as she would in somewhere like North Fulton. So having that experience allowed me to see 2 different perspectives. but it also allowed me to remember where I came from. And when I'm thinking about it all, I do it for, I don't know if this is a woman thing, but I do it for the future generations, like kids that I don't have yet. That's like the fuel behind the fire. That's why I don't really get scared when I'm out there. I'm just kind of thinking like, okay, if something happens, it's going to happen for the next generation and then the generation to come after. So,
that ain't a woman thing. That ain't a woman thing.
huh? What he say?
That's not a woman thing. I think like that. No.
Okay,
no.
but when I talked to a gentleman from Louisville '87, right? And we were talking about it after we all got released, and he said I was kind of sad to see not as many Black men out there with us. It was like Black women or white women. And he was like, I was kind of sad to see it. And he's like, I'm gonna call my brothers out, but I'm like, you got to think about how much, we're trying to overcome at one time. And so I'm trying to think, well, what were there so many women out there? And the only thing I can think of is that nurturing aspect of it. I don't know if you guys can piggyback off of what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I think everybody knows that the most undervalued human existence on earth is that of a Black woman. And many women, especially Black women, have taken up the mantle of protesting and bringing up the name of Breonna Taylor for exactly that reason, right? That 4 months have passed and still we haven't gotten any traction in that situation, and how egregious it is, and we know that something should happen. But I ain't gonna lie to you, I have internal battles about all of this, because I do believe. Sometimes we create fissures within our movement, especially when you start talking about the intersectionality of feminism and racism and that kind of thing. And don't even get me into feminism does not include Black women and the misconceptions that we as Black people have about feminism. But for me, it's a matter of just knowing how underspoken and under highlighted many of these Black women are when things happen to them, when they're murdered, when they're kidnapped, when they're sexually assaulted, that they don't become the loudest rallying cry. And so I think, like, for women, it's like that thing, like, hold on, we're gonna show up. Because I had Leslie Redmond. She was with you. Leslie was on my live last night, and she flew all the way out, from Minneapolis to be out there with y'all. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we understand, like, how underspoken they are. So y'all women are, like, really coming together. Like, don't get it twisted. Before quarantine went down, before the protests went down, before George Floyd and all that, the women empowerment and the women rooting for women movement was, like, thriving. Y'all was going hard for each other. The cis movement, all that, like, that became, y'all was on the wave, right? And then so now, as things start to take off, and you see it even in the movement, where it's like, where's the voice of the women? Where's the Black woman? Why is the Black woman not here? And so I think you guys are really going hard for that. And that one is, like, kind of that rallying cry, that center point that you guys could all kind of get around. The thing is like, really, we need more of us, period. Men and women out there fighting for each other.
I think that it's interesting though. I think a lot of times people don't get involved in activism unless they can relate to an issue. And so I think for the Breonna Taylor situation, that hit a lot of women personally, and they felt that, and they could empathize with that, and they could put themselves in that situation, where a lot of times I feel like activists or just the norm doesn't understand the severity of the moment that we're in, and they really don't understand that this shit can really happen to you as well. And I think that time, a lot of times, because I remember we've had a lot of protests, even for John Lewis. For John Lewis, it was a majority white crowd out there. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I'm thinking to myself, like, like, that's crazy that for John Lewis, I respect the work.
But the white folks are the folks that
out there, but they're.
You heard me, Scotty?
Yeah, and there's never been. Yeah.
No, I was saying that
there's never been enough
out there are the white folks that make up your Grant Park, Atlanta, your downtown Atlanta, your midtown Atlanta, your Piedmont, your Ponce, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're my neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I live in the 5th district. So, you know, it is a lot of white younger professionals out here. And so I think that kind of speaks to, you know, not to explain away what you're saying, but just to say that, like, that's kind of the demographics that really supported that man, and him being kind of transformative and crossing over to the other side and being that person that people saw as being King's legacy. Those white folks tapped in with it. But why are we not awake though? Like, why are we sleeping on some of our heroes like that?
Yeah, that's talking about the lack of black people tapping in with it.
What's that? I didn't hear you.
My thing was to tap into what Rachel was saying about the lack of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why are we not tapped in? Like, why are we not cheering for that hero like we should be?
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think?
I think, like I said, it comes back to.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Scotty.
I'm listening. Go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, well, I was gonna say there's a distraction.
No, I was just saying that
there's a distraction issue when it comes to social media. Like you said, the whole 72 hours thing where someone dies and then, you know, we kind of move on, and it's a thing where we're worried about a rap artist buying a car for their girlfriend. So that's the biggest thing, is like normalizing, how you said, Scotty, making us as people and not as activists, so that you're not just pushing this one thing, that I can still have a normal life, but I still need to be consciously throwing in this to my following to let you guys know how important it is. So I like Scotty, I'll use a little bit of humor, but it's always sometimes a little bit more geared toward political humor. And then I'm just doing that right now because I'm, you know, trying to get people around the way, because I did feel like a little black sheep in my family, like, where's Juneteenth celebrations? Like, you know what I mean? So it's about making it a fun thing, but making activism both serious, but incorporating little things in there to get people more involved until we can get everybody on one wave to make this a normal thing. 'Cause I don't think everybody's on that wave where they feel like this is normal life. They're still ready to go back and talk about every artist, you know. I mean, I don't know, I just see these distractions.
And it's I think it's interesting that you mentioned the social medias, Rachel, because I'm aware of the time, but I watch you guys' social media, Scotty, Shivy, Rachel, and you guys are constantly pouring into the community with information, you know, and even like you were talking about, Rachel, with your political humor or whatever. And it just makes me think, like, you know, do you guys miss being able to, I mean, I guess just post a funny video just to post a funny video, or like, that's why I wanted to ask y'all specifically what your self-care look like off of social media and outside of the activism, because just looking outside in, that's why people, Scotty, that's why people come up to you and just want to talk all activism, because if you look at your timeline, that's all it is, right? They don't have anything to really talk to you else about.
I'm joking there every now and then.
Oh, no, you and Rachel are on the same boat. It's like that.
I think to answer that question, I think I'm very transparent with my activism. I'm very transparent with my journey. I'm very transparent with my lifestyle. And so I do come across the funny memes now. And I can't be as graphic as I used to want to be. You know what I mean? I can't be as disrespectful as I used. Now I have to pay attention to what I say just a little bit more. But I joke around a lot. I'm the least serious person in the world. Like, we have a good time all the time. And that's why I engage with people the way I do. And I try to hold those conversations and let it be known that this is normal. You know what I mean? Like, but the information has to be out there. And sometimes there aren't enough outlets for the information. Like, you might have someone as big as Sean King, who might post something, right? Say about the Michigan thing, and the girl who is 15 years old and she's in juvenile detention for not doing her homework during the quarantine, right? Well, everybody may not have seen that. You know what I'm saying? And so when I posted it a couple days later, it was some people like, "Oh my God, what about?" I'm like, people have been talking about this. Y'all just ain't. And so you never know who follows who, where they get the information from, who's paying attention at what time. And so you just have to, I just feel like a source of information sometimes. But at the same time, in the same breath, it's also disheartening to see how much people don't take advantage of us being in the information age. And it's simple as like, say I make a post with the headline. People won't even go and read the article. They'll ask me some more questions about it. I'm like, all you had to do was go Google it. It would have came up. Like, where can I read more? Like, it's if you have a computer in your hand all day long, please use some information about it. You know what I'm saying? You probably scroll until your thumb hurts sometimes, and don't just get caught up in the gossip and the messiness of this world. Inform yourself. And so I think for me, I try to follow some funny people. I have to have humor in my life. I can't have super woke, super deep political conversations all day, every day. That's not like I have to like, all right, bro. A lot of times,
I said that's probably why we hang out with comedians.
Right, you know what I mean? Like you hang out with comedians, hang out with rappers, and you enjoy life. You know what I mean? Like, and also it allows you to see their stardom. Like anywhere we go with Desi, it's like, oh my God. Anywhere I go with Trouble, it's like, and to them, it's normal to them, but they're so humble in their own experiences. And that's actually helped me to come out of my introvert shell because I don't like attention. You know what I mean? Like I have the information because I've been around it so long, but I haven't been seeking attention or even embraced the attention that was coming to me. I've been running from the camera for 2 years. And so I've had a mentor like Attorney Griggs, who might be the biggest voice or face of activism in Atlanta at this moment, who's like, hey, bro, come on, like whatever you want. Like, and that's how all this just happened recently was, you know, a huge alley-oop from my mentor to even pass along a New York Times article to myself. He didn't have to do that. He was like, you know, it was about the 4th of July. I pissed some people off and I said that. Fox News came and they wanted to debate me. I don't think they knew what they was getting themselves into. I thought they were just like, we're going to try to embarrass him, which, it wasn't going to work like that.
And
but
I think
it's more so just having an understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Scotty, you did. I do want to commend you because you did phenomenal. I seen Attorney Griggs in your comments. I watched the Fox live. You did awesome. You definitely held it down and represented very well for your city and your movement. I just want to, you know, acknowledge all of you guys. Rachel has been on the front. When I say front lines, if you can see her in articles from AJC to, you know, the Kentucky, from like all of it. And Shivy is constantly pouring into the community every night, 8 p.m. You can catch him on live. He don't miss a day.
No.
Which is awesome. And Michelle,
on talk show.
You said what? Yeah. He's going live tonight. You can catch him tonight. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have Howard on. We're gonna have District Attorney, Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard on my show tonight at 8:00 to talk about his upcoming.
I got him on my live tomorrow.
Okay, Scotty.
And I'll have a live.
I'm trying to book my day too. I'm trying to book my day. I was like,
yeah, no, we, you know, and I think that's the other part to it, right? Like, I know you talked about, like, you know, do we joke and do we play on social media? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I feel like they got enough of that out there. They don't need me being another one to distract us with a laugh. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, y'all gonna get this work. Now, if you're gonna catch something off brand of, you know, the movement of activism or something like that, you might catch a little father and son pick or something like that every now and then. But other than that, y'all gonna keep getting this work and we gonna apply pressure. Because too often Black platforms are not taken seriously. And so when you got into a day and age where, you know, someone wants to be, let's say, a probate judge or a district attorney or something, that they come to somebody like a Scotty or myself and be like, yo, we want to go live with you. Because we value your conversation. We value your audience. We value your reach. That matters. You know what I'm saying? Because what a lot of people don't know is, you know, the gatekeepers to a lot of Atlanta influence are not necessarily people with money. Scotty and I have a lot of influence over people who have a lot more influence than we do.
That's real. And as long as you all are taking care of yourselves off the line, that's all I care about. You know, you can continue to drop gems, continue to spew the facts, about what's going on in the state of America and what people need to do to help move the movement. As long as people are continuing to pour into their own cup, which is tapping into our cultural resources, which are the barbecues, the getting togethers, and playing spades. And if you want a glass of Henny, that's on you. You know, it's your cup of tea. Michelle, do you want to wrap us up with some information on how to get in touch with you and maybe some resources that people can tune into?
Sure. Again, I really appreciate this conversation. I love being in spaces where I can learn. And I don't ever feel like the expert. I like being a student in these different spaces. So thank y'all again for sharing. You can definitely, I have a free self-care newsletter that I share every month. I love putting events like this in my newsletter. I put different podcasts, resources, apps that you can use to incorporate self-care. My space is to encourage folks to practice self-care, especially Black folks, especially people of color. My website is G as in good, Michelle.com. I have a ton of blogs to talk about different ways to incorporate self-care. I have some great things coming up later this year to further encourage, especially us, to take time for ourselves and to fill ourselves up. So you're welcome to follow me. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest at the G Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you. Scotty, Shivy, Rachel, you didn't, well, Scotty and Rachel didn't add their Instagram names. Do you want to tell people how to find you?
You can find me at
Sure.
Rachel Ponder _
You can find me Say it again, Rachel. I don't think they heard you. My fault.
You can find me on Instagram at Rachel Ponder _ on Twitter, Rachel Ponder _.
You guys can find me on the Shivy VY on Twitter as well.
Hold on, Shivy. Hold on.
What you got to say?
It's like you're a robot. Robot for a second.
Oh,
Hold on, Shivy. I'm about to mute everybody. Okay. I don't know which one of y'all exactly. Look, please tune into Shivy at Call Me Shivy, okay? And Scotty Smart, Change Creators. Did I say it right? Wait, hold on. Scotty, say your Instagram one more time.
Change Creator Smart.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. And I'm going to leave everybody's information in the show notes. I really hope you guys gathered something from watching this. If anything, I hope you will ask yourself some questions leaving this space about how you are taking care of yourself and what are the things that make you most happy and most comfortable in your authentic self. Thank you again to all of my guests tonight. I really appreciated you guys coming into my space and just sharing this platform with me. Through all the technical difficulties, we made it happen, okay? Because that's what Black people do, all right? We make things happen. So thank you guys again, and make sure you like, subscribe, and comment to Emotional Exchange YouTube. So thank you guys. Peace.